I went to surprise my son at the office. From the doorway, I heard my daughter-in-law say, "Are you sure he won't notice?" My son replied in a low voice, "My dad is a senile old fool." I froze, my heart pounding, listening to every word. They laughed and continued discussing their plan, and that's when I realized this wasn't just a simple business conversation. I decided to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But let me explain how I arrived at that moment, how a proud father, going to surprise his son, ended up uncovering the worst betrayal imaginable. My name is James Jim Davis, and I'm 57 years old. I am the founder and owner of Davis & Associates, a business consulting firm I built from the ground up 28 years ago. I started in a rented cubicle with a used computer and a lot of dreams. Today, we have offices in 5 major U.S. cities and bill around $18 million USD annually. I didn't inherit anything. I didn't have privileged contacts. I only had hard work, intelligence, and the determination to give my family what I never had: stability, security, and opportunity. I married Linda when I was 25. She was 23. She was an English teacher, beautiful, smart, with dreams of raising successful children who would conquer the world. We had 2 children, Scott, who is now 30, and then Emily, 27. For years, we were the perfect family everyone envied. Vacations in Europe, houses in Miami Beach and the Upper East Side, the kids in the best private schools, graduating with honors. Everything money could buy and effort could achieve. Linda passed away 5 years ago from a cerebral aneurysm, without warning. One day, she was planning Scott's wedding. The next, she was in the hospital. And 2 days later, she was gone. No goodbyes, no final words, just a void. The pain was devastating, but I had to keep going for my children, for the company, and to maintain everything Linda and I had built. Scott married Audrey 6 months after Linda passed. He had met her in college. Pretty, charismatic, but something about her always unsettled me. A coldness in her eyes, a calculating way of speaking. But my son loved her, or so he said, so I accepted her into the family. Emily also married 2 years later to Frank, an architect, a good, hard-working, honest guy. I liked him from the start. After Linda died, I began thinking about succession, about what would happen to the company when I was no longer around, or when I simply wanted to retire. The obvious answer was Scott. My son had studied business administration, got his MBA in the States, had the credentials, the knowledge, and he was my blood, the natural choice. Scott, I told him 3 years ago, I want you to start getting more involved in the company, learning how everything works, so you can eventually take control. Really, Dad? His eyes lit up. That would be incredible. But you have to start at the bottom, just like I did, getting to know every department, every process. I won't give you a position just because you're my son. You have to earn it. I understand, and I'll do it, I promise. He started as a project assistant, modest salary, no privileges. To my surprise, he did well. He arrived early, stayed late, asked smart questions, took notes. He seemed genuinely interested. I'm proud of you, I told him after 6 months. You're showing you have what it takes. Thanks, Dad. That means everything to me. Over the next 2 years, Scott climbed the ranks. Coordinator, project manager, deputy director. Each promotion was earned through results, satisfied clients, and successful projects. 6 months ago, I made the final decision. Scott, it's time. I'm going to name you Chief Operating Officer, COO. You'll be my right-hand man, and in 2 years, when I turn 60, I'll give you the full CEO role. Dad, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Just keep proving you deserve it. Audrey, his wife, was thrilled. Jim, this is wonderful. Scott is finally getting the recognition he deserves, and we're getting the stability we need to start a family. You're thinking of having children? Yes, but we wanted to wait until Scott's position was secure. And now it is. Everything seemed perfect. My son ascending, my legacy secure, the company in good hands for the next generation. But as always, appearances were deceiving. 3 months ago, I started noticing strange things, small at first. Scott having meetings that weren't on my calendar, new clients I didn't know, contracts signed without my final review. Scott, who is Southern Star Corporation? I saw you signed a contract with them for $300,000. Oh yeah, they're a new client, restructuring consulting. Everything's in order, Dad. Don't worry. I'd like to see the file. Sure, I'll send it to you this afternoon. But the file never arrived, and when I asked again, Scott said, Dad, it's in process. We're still organizing the documents. But I promise you, everything is fine. Trust me. And I trusted him because he was my son, and because he had demonstrated competence for 2 years. More strange contracts started coming in. Companies I'd never heard of, with generic names, paying large amounts for vague services. Operational process optimization, comprehensive strategic consulting, corporate restructuring advisory. It all sounded legitimate, but also vague, too vague. My CFO, Mr. Ernest Ernie Stone, who had worked with me for 20 years, came to see me 2 months ago, worry etched on his face. Jim, I need to talk to you about some transactions. What transactions? The ones Scott has been processing. Something is strange. Money is coming in from companies with no history, and then going out to equally unknown companies. It's like we're being used as an intermediary. Intermediary for what? I'm not sure, but the patterns resemble, well, money laundering. That's impossible. Scott wouldn't do that. You're probably right, but Jim, you should investigate. Review those contracts. Talk to those clients. Because if something illegal is happening, and it's under your name, you are legally responsible. I'll talk to Scott. But every time I tried, Scott had excuses. Dad, I'm in a meeting. Dad, I have to go see a client. Dad, I'm busy. Let's talk later. And I stupidly let it go because I trusted him, because I didn't want to believe my son was hiding something from me. Until yesterday. I decided I needed answers, and I planned to surprise him at the office without notice, to finally have that conversation I'd been putting off for weeks. I arrived at the office at 11 a.m. Scott wasn't expecting me. His assistant greeted me, surprised. Mr. Davis, I didn't know you were coming today. Surprise. Is Scott in? Yes, in his office, with his wife. They're in a private meeting. Perfect. Don't announce me. I want to surprise him. I walked the halls of the company I built, passing employees who greeted me, seeing the modern offices that cost me so much, feeling proud of what I had created. I reached Scott's office. The door was slightly ajar. I was about to knock when I heard voices. Scott and Audrey, speaking softly but clearly. Are you sure he won't notice? Audrey asked. My dad is a senile old fool, Scott replied, laughing. He's so focused on retiring and playing golf that he doesn't see what's happening under his nose. But it's his company, Audrey continued. What if he checks the books, if he finds the accounts? He won't find anything. Ernie is the only one who might suspect, and I've already handled him. I gave him limited access to the systems. He can't see the full transactions anymore. You're so smart, Audrey said admiringly. You know, when this works, when we move the $3 million, our commission will be $300,000. Enough to buy that house you want in Pacific Palisades. And then there'll be more contracts, more money. Eventually, we can force Dad out completely, declare him incompetent if necessary, and take total control. And if he resists, then we use Plan B. We have enough documentation to incriminate him. Everything is in his name. If anything goes wrong, he's the one who takes the fall, not us. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought they would hear it. My son wasn't just calling me an old fool. He was using my company to launder money. He was planning to remove me, and if anything went wrong, I would be the one facing criminal consequences. And your sister? Audrey asked. Does Emily suspect anything? Emily is clueless. She only cares about her kids and her mediocre architect husband. She pays no attention to the business. And even if she did, she wouldn't understand a thing. And if your dad talks to her, if he tells her his suspicions, he won't. He's too proud. He doesn't want to admit that he might have made a mistake in trusting me. He'd rather believe everything is fine than face the fact that his perfect son is a fraud. They laughed, both of them, enjoying their betrayal, planning my downfall. I retreated silently, my heart in my throat, my hands shaking. I needed to get out, to think, to plan. I walked back down the halls, this time not seeing anyone, feeling no pride, only betrayal, pain, and mounting rage. I got to my car, sat down, and processed what I had just heard. My son was using me, my company, my name, my reputation. All of it was being used for money laundering, probably organized crime money. And if the authorities found out, I was the one who would go to prison, not Scott. He had made sure of that. Everything is in his name, he had said, which meant the fraudulent contracts had my signature, or fakes of my signature, and I would be responsible. Rage consumed me, but also pain, because it wasn't just business betrayal. It was personal betrayal. My son had called me a senile old fool, planned to declare me incompetent, and used my trust, my paternal love, as a weapon against me. But then something changed. The rage turned into something cold, calculated, strategic. If Scott thought I was a senile old fool, he was wrong. I had built an empire from scratch. I had navigated economic crises, fierce competition, and difficult clients. You don't survive 28 years in consulting by being foolish. And if my son wanted a war, he would have it. But on my terms, not his. I pulled out my phone and called my personal attorney, not the corporate lawyer. That one was probably compromised too. But Michael Harris, my college friend, who was now one of the most respected lawyers in the state. Michael, I need to see you. Urgent. It's about my company and my son. What happened? I can't say it over the phone. Can you come to my house tonight, 8 o'clock? And bring someone who specializes in white-collar crime, because what I discovered is serious. I'll be there. Then I called a private investigator I had used years ago to vet potential partners. Robert Sanchez, discreet, efficient, and completely loyal. Robert, I need a complete investigation of my son, Scott Davis, and his wife, Audrey. I want to know everything. Personal finances, associations, contacts, bank movements, everything. And it needs to be secret. No one can know, not even my son. Especially my son. Understood. Give me 48 hours. I arrived home, poured a whiskey, and sat in the study where Linda and I used to plan our future, where we had dreamed of our successful children, of a family legacy. I wondered, when did everything go wrong? When did my son turn into this? I looked at a picture on the wall. Scott at 10, smiling, innocent, pure. Where was that boy? When did he die? And when was he replaced by this man who called me an old fool? My phone rang. It was Scott. Hey, Dad, your assistant told me you were in the office today, but you didn't look me up. Is everything okay? His voice was warm, worried, completely fake. No, son. Just stopped by to pick up some documents. But I saw you were busy in your office, so I didn't want to interrupt. Oh well, you should have said hello. I always have time for you. Lies. Pure lies. I know, but don't worry. I'll see you tomorrow at the board meeting. I'll be there. And Dad, thank you for trusting me, for giving me this opportunity. I won't let you down. You already have, I thought. You already have, in the worst possible way. I know, son. See you tomorrow. I hung up, and in that moment, I made a decision. I would not confront Scott yet. I wouldn't show him I knew, because if I did, he would have time to cover his tracks, destroy evidence, and prepare a defense. No. I was going to do what he was doing. Act normal, pretend everything was fine, while secretly gathering evidence, building my case, and preparing my counterattack. Because if 28 years in business had taught me anything, it was this. Information is power, and the one who makes the first unprepared move loses. Scott had made a mistake, a big mistake. He had underestimated his father. He had assumed I was too old, too trusting, too foolish to see the truth. But I had seen it, and now I was going to use that truth to destroy his plans and teach him the most expensive lesson of his life, because no one, absolutely no one, uses my name to commit crimes. Not even my son. Michael Harris arrived at my house exactly at 8, accompanied by a woman in her 40s. Elegant, with a sharp gaze that evaluated everything. Jim, this is Pamela Miller, a financial crime specialist, former federal prosecutor, now in private practice. I told her the general terms of your situation, and she agreed to come. Thank you for coming, counsel. Call me Pamela, and Michael tells me it's urgent, and it involves your son. I led them to my study, closed the door, and told them everything, every word I had heard, every detail, omitting nothing. Pamela took notes on a tablet, her expression growing increasingly serious. Mr. Davis, this is serious, very serious. If what you heard is true, your son is using your company for money laundering, likely tied to organized crime, and he's structured everything so that you are responsible if anything goes wrong. How serious are the consequences legally? Money laundering can carry up to 15 years in a federal prison, and all your assets could be seized, your company shut down, your reputation destroyed. And if they're connected to organized crime, the authorities won't easily believe you didn't know. But I didn't know. But it's your company, your name, and legally, it's your responsibility to know what's happening. Ignorance is no defense, especially when the operations are under your signature. So, what do I do? Michael spoke up. First, document everything. We need solid evidence of the fake contracts, the transactions, everything. Second, protect you legally. Separate your liability from Scott's. And third, you have to decide. Are you going to report your son, or are you going to try to resolve this privately? What are the options for private resolution? Pamela replied, confront him, demand he stop everything, return the money if possible, and resign. But Mr. Davis, that's risky, because if organized crime is involved, they won't simply let their money go, and your son could be in danger. So could you. And if I report him? Then Scott faces criminal charges, likely prison, and you have to cooperate completely with the authorities, provide all the evidence, testify if necessary, against your own son. The idea turned my stomach, but the alternative was allowing him to continue, to use me, to eventually destroy me. I need to think. But first, I need all the evidence. I need to know exactly what he's been doing. I can help with that, Pamela said. I have contacts, forensic investigators. We can conduct a secret audit of your company, find all the fake contracts, all the suspicious transactions, and document everything. It will take a week, maybe 2. Do it, but absolutely secret. No one in the company can know, especially Scott. And Ernie, your CFO, he already suspects something. I'll talk to him tomorrow and bring him to our side. I need allies inside the company. After Michael and Pamela left, I stayed up late, thinking, planning, processing how I had gotten here. When did my son decide that stealing from me, using me, and potentially destroying me was acceptable? I thought of Linda, of what she would say, how she would react. She was always stricter with the kids than I was, more willing to set limits, punishments and consequences. "Jim, you're spoiling them," she used to say. "You give them everything without making them work for anything, and someday that's going to come back to bite you." She was right, as always, but I didn't listen, because I wanted to be the cool dad, the generous dad, the one who gave opportunities without conditions. And now I was paying the price. The next morning I arrived at the office early, before anyone else. I went straight to Ernie's office. "Jim, what a surprise. You usually don't get here this early. I need to talk to you about what you told me 2 months ago, the strange transactions." His expression grew serious. "You investigated?" "Yes, and you're right. Something is wrong, very wrong. But I need your help, and this has to be completely confidential." "What do you need?" "Full access to all the transactions, all the contracts, everything Scott has been handling, and I need you to gather it without him knowing." "That's going to be difficult. Scott changed my system permissions 3 weeks ago. I no longer have full access. Can you recover that access without him knowing?" "I can try. I'm the system administrator. Technically, I have the authority to change permissions. But if Scott checks the logs, he'll know I did something. Do it anyway, and then delete the logs, or modify them, whatever it takes. Because, Ernie, if we don't stop this, not only will Scott go to prison, but I will too, and the company will be shut down. We all lose." "It's that serious?" "Worse. But I can fix it if I have the right evidence. Will you help me?" Ernie looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "You're a good man, Jim, and you've been fair to me for 20 years. So yes, I'll help you. Give me 3 days. I'll gather everything." "Thank you. And Ernie, if Scott asks anything, act normal, like you don't know anything." "I will." The board meeting was that afternoon. There were 5 of us. Me, Scott, 2 external directors who were more advisors than anything, and the chief legal counsel, who was probably compromised too. Scott presented the quarterly numbers. Everything looked good. Revenue up, expenses controlled, healthy margins. "Excellent work, Scott," I said, acting like the proud father. "The new clients are generating good results." "Thanks, Dad. Just applying what you taught me." "Liar. Disgusting liar. Tell me more about these clients." "Southern Star Corporation, Integrated Innovation Group, Pacific Strategic Development." "I don't know them." "They're mid-sized companies looking to optimize operations. Nothing extraordinary, but they pay well and are easy to manage." "I'd like to meet the owners. Maybe we can expand the work with them." I saw a flash of panic in his eyes. Quick, but there. "I don't think that's necessary, Dad. They're mid-level clients. They don't require the founder's attention. It would be like killing mosquitoes with a cannon. Still, I like to know our clients. That's how you build personal relationships." "Okay, fine. I'll arrange something, but maybe in a month. They're busy right now." "Perfect. I look forward to those meetings." There wouldn't be any meetings because those clients probably didn't exist, or they were shell companies. But I wanted to pressure him, to see how he reacted. After the meeting, Scott stopped me. "Dad, why the sudden interest in those clients?" "Just curiosity. As CEO, I should know our full portfolio. But you've been so disconnected lately, letting me handle everything. Why the change?" "No change. I'm just doing my job. Is there a problem?" No problem. I'm just surprised." "Surprised that I do my job? It's not that. It's just that I thought you were preparing to retire, to hand over complete control. And I am, but in 2 years, not now. For now, I'm still the boss, and I want to be informed of everything. Understood? Perfectly. That night, Robert Sanchez, the private investigator, called me. Mr. Davis, I have preliminary information, and it's concerning. Your son and daughter-in-law are living a lifestyle far beyond their salaries. Expensive trips, designer clothes, a new car every year, and they just made a down payment on a house in Westwood, $600,000 cash. Where do they get that money? Not from visible, legitimate sources. Their personal bank accounts don't show those funds, which suggests hidden accounts, probably offshore. Can you track those accounts? I'm working on it, but I need more time, and we'll probably need access to computers or phones to find the details. Keep investigating. And Robert, there's something else. I need you to find out who the real clients are. Southern Star Corporation, Integrated Innovation Group, all of them. I need to know who is behind those companies. I'll do it. But Mr. Davis, if these clients are connected to organized crime, this gets dangerous. For you, for me, for everyone. I know, but I have no choice. I need the truth. 3 days later, Ernie arrived at my house at night with a USB drive in his hand. Here is everything. All the contracts Scott has signed in the last 8 months. All the transactions. All the money movements. Everything. And Scott doesn't suspect a thing. But Jim, you need to see this now, because it's worse than you thought. We connected the USB to my laptop, and over the next 3 hours, Ernie showed me everything. 23 shell companies, fraudulent contracts totaling $5.5 million USD, money coming in, money going out, using my company as a washing machine. And my signature, it's on these contracts? Yes, but Jim, it's not your real signature. It's a forgery. Quite well done, but a forgery. Scott has access to your digital signature and has been using it without your authorization. That's fraud, in addition to money laundering. Yes, and there's more. Look at these transfers. $300,000 went to an account in the Cayman Islands in the name of a company called SDA Holdings. I checked. SDA are the initials for Scott Davis and Audrey. They're skimming some of the money. Exactly. They're not just laundering money for others. They're stealing a huge commission for themselves. And if the authorities find out, they'll think you authorized it, that you're the mastermind, because everything is under your name. Scott made sure of that. Rage consumed me, but also fear, because Ernie was right. If this came to light, I was the one who would face the consequences, not Scott. He had built the perfect structure to sink me. Can you make copies of all of this? Multiple copies, in different formats, and save them in safe places. I already did. I have 3 USBs, one for you, one for me, and one in a safety deposit box at the bank. Good, because we're going to need this. Very soon. The next day, Pamela Miller arrived at my house. I gave her access to everything Ernie had gathered. This is enough, she said after reviewing it. Enough to bring criminal charges. Enough to separate your liability from your son's. And enough to protect you if the authorities are already investigating. You think they might be? It's possible. Movements of this magnitude generate automatic alerts in the financial system. If someone at the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, saw something suspicious, they could be building a case, and they would prefer to have you as a cooperating witness than as a suspect. Then what do you recommend? That you come forward. Go to the authorities first, before they come to you. Present the evidence. Prove you were the victim of fraud committed by your son. And cooperate completely. And Scott. Scott faces prison. A lot of it. And his wife too. And if organized crime is involved, their lives could be in danger when those people discover they were exposed. I don't want anything to happen to them physically. I just want justice. Then you need to act fast, because every day that passes, more money is laundered, and deeper your son digs his own grave. That night, Scott called me. Dad, can we have dinner? Tomorrow? Just you and me. There's something I want to discuss with you. About what? About the future, about the company, about accelerating your retirement. There it was, the move I had been waiting for. Scott pushing for me to leave sooner, to have complete control, to operate without my supervision. Sure, son. Let's have dinner. Where? At my house. Audrey will cook something special. Perfect. What time? 8. We'll be waiting. I hung up, and I knew exactly what was going to happen. Scott was going to pressure me, maybe try to get me to sign documents, or simply manipulate me emotionally. But I had a different plan, and that dinner was going to be memorable, but not in the way Scott expected. I called Pamela. Tomorrow night, my son is going to try something, and I want to be prepared. Can you get me recording equipment? Discreet. Something I can wear without it being noticeable? I can. You're going to record him without his consent? Yes. And I know it might not be admissible in court, but I want a record of what he says, what he attempts. I understand. I'll get you the equipment. But Jim, be careful. If he gets violent, if you feel you're in danger, leave immediately. I will, but I need to do this. I need to hear what he plans to tell me, what he expects me to do. I spent that day preparing myself mentally, knowing that the dinner the next day would be the breaking point, the moment when everything would change. And although my heart ached for what I was about to do, my mind was clear, because it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about justice, about stopping someone who was committing serious crimes, and about protecting my legacy, my name, and my freedom, even if it meant destroying my own son. The next afternoon, Pamela gave me the recording equipment, a tiny button-sized device with a built-in microphone. It adhered to my shirt, invisible under the fabric. It has battery for 4 hours, she explained. It records automatically, and it transmits live to this receiver you can leave in your car. Just in case, we have a backup. Is it legal? Yes, in the U.S., recording a conversation you are a party to is legal in many states, known as one-party consent. You're likely protected. And even if it weren't admissible in court, it serves for your personal protection. Perfect. Jim, seriously, if you feel you're in danger, leave. Call the police if necessary. Don't take chances. I won't. But I need to do this. I need to hear what he plans to tell me, what he intends for me to do. I arrived at Scott's house exactly at 8, a beautiful house in Westwood that I had helped them buy with a $150,000 loan that was never repaid. Now I understood why. They were using laundered money for everything. Audrey opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Jim, how nice to see you. Come in. Thanks, Audrey. It smells delicious. I made your favorite. Prime rib with roasted asparagus and potatoes au gratin. A traditional dinner. Sounds wonderful. Scott appeared from the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. Dad, welcome. Here, it's a high-end Cabernet. I know you like it. I took the glass but didn't drink, not yet. After what I had heard, after knowing they tried to drug other people in similar situations, I wasn't going to risk it. Thanks, son. But you know I don't drink much before eating. It fills me up. Oh, right. Well, whenever you're ready. We sat in the living room. Superficial conversation. The weather. The news. Nothing important. But I could feel the tension, as if we were all waiting for the right moment for what really mattered. Finally, after dinner, dessert, and coffee, Scott suggested we talk in his study. Private, man-to-man, father and son. Audrey disappeared discreetly, leaving us alone. The study was elegant. Books on the walls, mahogany desk, leather armchairs, all bought with stolen money. Dad, thanks for coming. I know I've been busy lately, maybe distant, but it's because I've been working on something important. For us, for the family, for the legacy. I'm listening. I've been thinking about the future, about the company, about your retirement, and I think you should accelerate it. Why? Because you deserve it. You've worked 28 years non-stop. You built something incredible, and now it's time for you to enjoy it, to travel, to live, to let the next generation take control. But we said 2 years. I know, but Dad, why wait? I'm ready now. I've proven I can handle everything. The numbers are better than ever. The clients are satisfied. Everything is running perfectly. And what exactly are you proposing? That you transfer the CEO role to me, now. That you stay on as chairman of the board, with a voice but no daily operational responsibilities, and that you enjoy your money while you can. Sounds reasonable. But why the urgency? It's not urgency. It's opportunity. Dad, I have plans. Big plans. To expand the company. New markets, new services. But I need complete autonomy to execute them. And as long as you're the CEO, I need your approval for everything, which slows things down. I understand. And do those plans include the new clients you've been bringing in? The companies with generic names? I saw a flash in his eyes. Surprise. Maybe fear. But quickly controlled. Yes, exactly. Those clients are the future. Emerging businesses that need intensive, highly profitable consulting. But they require discretion and agility in decisions. Things that are easier if I have total control. Discretion. Why would they need discretion? Because they're private companies that don't want their competitors to know they're reorganizing or having problems. It's normal in our business. Sure, but Scott, as the current CEO, I have the right to know all our clients, to review all the contracts. Isn't that right? Of course, and you can do it whenever you want. Perfect. Then tomorrow, I want a meeting with the representatives of Southern Star Corporation, an integrated innovation group, and the other 20 companies you've brought in over the last few months. Dad, that's going to be difficult to coordinate. Why? If they're legitimate clients, they should be available, unless there's a problem. There's no problem. It's just that some of them prefer to communicate only with me. That's why they hired me, for that personal relationship. But I'm the founder, the CEO. My presence should be an honor for them, unless they don't actually exist. Silence. Long. Uncomfortable. What are you implying, Dad? I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. Are those clients real? Or are they shell companies you're using to launder money? Scott stood up quickly, rage in his eyes. How dare you? How dare you accuse me of something like that? It's not an accusation if it's true. And Scott, I know the truth. I know exactly what you've been doing. Using my company, my name, my forged signature, to launder millions of dollars. You're crazy, paranoid. Maybe Ernie was right. Maybe you are losing your mental faculties. Ernie didn't say any of that. In fact, he was the one who alerted me, who showed me the suspicious transactions, who helped me gather all the evidence. Evidence? What evidence? Of the 23 fake contracts, of the $5.5 million laundered, of your account in the Cayman Islands where you've deposited commissions. Everything. Scott paled. For the first time, the control vanished. It was replaced by pure panic. You don't have anything. You're making it up. I have everything. Contracts, transactions, bank records, testimonies, and most importantly, I have your voice. The recording of you and Audrey a week ago, planning how to force me out of the company, how to declare me incompetent if necessary, and how to use me as a scapegoat if anything went wrong. You were spying on us? No. I went to surprise you at your office, and I overheard you by accident, calling me a senile old fool, laughing at me, planning my destruction. Scott slumped into his chair, defeated, or pretending to be defeated. Dad, I can explain. There's no explanation that justifies what you did. Betrayal, fraud, money laundering, forgery. Do you know how many years in prison you face for that? Dad, please. You don't understand. I didn't have a choice. I was in debt. To bad people. Dangerous people. And they offered me a way out. To use the company to launder their money, and they would forgive my debts. I didn't have a choice. There is always a choice. You could have come to me, asked me for help, but instead you chose to use me, to destroy me, and to blame me if anything went wrong. I didn't want to involve you. You already involved me. Everything is in my name, my signature, my company, my reputation. If the authorities find this out, I'm the one who goes to prison, not you. I'm sorry, Dad. I really am. But we can fix it. We can stop everything. Return the money. Close those accounts. And nobody has to know. It's too late for that, because I already know, and I'm not going to allow this to continue. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. Protect myself. And that means reporting you. You can't do that. I'm your son. You are a criminal who just happens to share my blood, but that doesn't give you the right to destroy me. Audrey ran into the study, clearly having been listening from outside. Jim, please, think about your family, your legacy. If you report Scott, the scandal will destroy the company. Everything you worked for will disappear. Is that what you want? What I want is justice and protection for myself and for the legitimate company I built, not the criminal operation you created. We're family, Audrey pleaded. Family protects. Family forgives. Where is your compassion? My compassion died when I heard your husband call me a senile old fool, when I discovered you planned to declare me incompetent, when I realized you'd watch me go to prison for your crimes without batting an eye. Scott changed tactics. The pleas turned into threats. Dad, if you do this, if you report me, I'll drag you down with me. I'll say you knew everything, that you planned it, and that I was just following orders. Go ahead. Try. I have evidence that you forged my signature, that you manipulated systems without my knowledge, that you conspired behind my back. Your word against my evidence. Who do you think they'll believe? The people we're working with, they won't let this get out. They'll do whatever it takes to protect their operation, including hurting whoever is necessary, even you. Are you threatening me with organized crime? I'm warning you. If you expose this, not only am I in danger, you are too. Emily is too. The whole family. Then I suggest you cooperate with the authorities. Give them names, information, everything you know, so they can protect all of us, and maybe, just maybe, your sentence will be reduced. I won't be a rat. Then you'll be a prisoner for many years. You decide. I got up to leave, but Scott blocked the door. You're not leaving until you destroy that evidence, until you promise you won't say anything. Get out of my way. No, not until you promise me. Scott, move. Now. Dad, please, I beg you. I can't go to prison. I can't. I pushed him gently, but he reacted by grabbing my arm, hard, with desperation. You're not going to ruin my life. I won't let you. Let go of me, now, Audrey intervened, pulling him away. Scott, let him go. You're making things worse. He finally released me, and I walked out of that house trembling, not with fear, but with rage and pain, because that wasn't my son. Not the one I knew. He was a stranger. Dangerous. Desperate. I got to my car and checked that the recording had worked. Yes, every word had been captured, including the threats, the admissions, everything. That night I called Pamela. I need to go to the authorities tomorrow, as soon as possible, because this is escalating, and it's no longer safe to wait. I understand. I'll make the calls. I have contacts at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCN. We'll present everything with guarantees of protection for you and for my other daughter, Emily. She doesn't know anything about this, but Scott threatened that organized crime could hurt her. We'll ask for protection for her too. The next morning I called Emily. Honey, I need to see you, urgent, at my house. It's important. Dad, what's wrong? You sound worried. I am, but I can't explain over the phone. Just come. Bring Frank if you want, but I need to talk to you. An hour later, Emily arrived with her husband. I told them everything, every detail, from what I overheard in Scott's office to the confrontation last night. Emily was crying. I can't believe it. Scott was always the perfect, successful brother. How could he do this? I don't know, honey. But he did, and now I have to protect us. All of us. What are you going to do? I'm reporting him today, and the authorities will arrest him, probably today or tomorrow. I want you to be prepared, because the media will cover this, and our family will be under scrutiny. Frank spoke. Mr. Davis, is there a real risk of organized crime? Should we be worried? Possibly. That's why I'm going to request protection for Emily, and for both of you, until the criminals involved are arrested. And the company? What will happen to it? It will survive, because I'm going to prove that the criminal operations were conducted without my knowledge, by Scott. And I'm going to clean everything up, fire anyone who was involved, and rebuild the reputation. And Scott, will you visit him in prison? Will you ever forgive him? I don't know, Emily. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me still loves him because he's my son. But another part can't forgive what he did, what he tried to do to me. That afternoon, accompanied by Pamela and Michael, I went to the offices of the U.S. Attorney's Office, with boxes full of evidence, documents, and recordings. Agent Rachel Riley, a woman in her 50s with a serious expression, reviewed everything for 3 hours, asking questions, verifying details, taking notes. Mr. Davis, this is enough to proceed. We're going to issue arrest warrants for your son, for your daughter-in-law, and for anyone else we identify as an accomplice. When? Tonight. A coordinated operation, so they don't have time to flee or destroy evidence. And me? Do I face any charges? For now, no. Your cooperation and the evidence that you are a victim of fraud protect you. But Mr. Davis, you will have to testify when it goes to trial against your son. I know, and I will. I also need to warn you, the people your son was laundering money for won't be happy when they discover they were exposed. We will offer you protection, but you must take it seriously. I will. That night at 10, teams from the U.S. Attorney's Office simultaneously entered Scott's house and his office. They arrested him and Audrey. They formally charged them and took them in for questioning. The news exploded. Son of prominent businessman arrested for money laundering. Criminal operation at consulting firm. Father reports, son for fraud. The media sought me out, wanting statements, photos, explanations. But Pamela advised silence. Let the U.S. Attorney's Office handle the public narrative. You just protect yourself. 2 days later, Scott asked to see me from the detention center where he was awaiting trial. Pamela advised me not to go. You're not obligated, and it could be emotionally dangerous. But I need to see him. One last time. To understand if there's anything to save, or if I really lost him forever. Then I'll go with you, as a witness and protection. The Metropolitan Detention Center was exactly as I imagined. Cold, gray, depressing. A place where hope dies and reality hits without mercy. Pamela accompanied me to the visiting room. 30 minutes maximum, and if he says anything that makes you uncomfortable, or threatens you, we end the visit immediately. Understood. Scott entered 5 minutes later, escorted by 2 guards. He wore the standard uniform, unshaven, with deep circles under his eyes. He had lost weight, and something else, the arrogance, the confidence he always had. He looked broken. We sat down, separated by a table, with Pamela close by, watching. "Dad," he said, his voice cracking, "thanks for coming. I didn't think you would." "I almost didn't. Why did you come then?" "Because despite everything, I still need answers. I need to understand how we got here, how my son turned into this. Dad, I didn't want this to happen. Not this way." "What way did you want it to happen? Did you want me to go to prison in your place? To carry your crimes while you lived with stolen money?" "No. I thought you'd never find out. That I could manage everything without you knowing. And then, when I had complete control, I would clean it all up. I would end the criminal operation and the company would be legitimate again." "And you expected me to believe that?" "It's the truth. Dad, I was trapped. I owed money to dangerous people. A lot of money. And they offered me a way out. Use the company temporarily, launder their money, and my debts would be forgiven. I thought it would only be for 6 months, maybe a year, and then everything would go back to normal. But it didn't. You continued. For 8 months, laundering more and more money, skimming commissions, buying houses, living beyond your means. I know, I got carried away. The money was so easy, and Audrey wanted things, a bigger house, trips, clothes, and I wanted to give them to her. I wanted to be the husband she deserved. And what about being the son I deserved, the honest man your mother and I tried to raise?" Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I failed. At everything. And I know it. And I'm sorry." "Are you really sorry? Or are you just sorry you got caught?" "I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I betrayed you, for calling you a senile old fool, for planning to force you out, for forging your signature, for putting your freedom at risk. Everything. And if I hadn't found out, if I had continued trusting blindly, would you have stopped?" Silence. Long. Uncomfortable. "I don't know," he finally admitted. "Probably not. Because I had gotten used to the money, to the lifestyle, and I didn't want to give it up." "Then you don't really feel sorry. You feel like you lost, that your plan didn't work, but you don't feel genuine remorse for what you did to me, do you?" "No, Scott. You called me an old fool. You laughed at me with your wife. You planned to declare me incompetent if I didn't cooperate. And you structured everything so that I would go to prison if things went wrong. Does that sound like someone who loves me? Who respects me?" I was scared, desperate, saying things I didn't really mean. Lies. In moments of desperation, people show their true selves. And your true self sees me as an obstacle, as a resource to be exploited, not as a father. Dad, please, don't say that. You were always my father. I always loved you. But you didn't respect me, and without respect, love means nothing. Scott was sobbing now. "What do you want me to do? What can I do to fix this?" "Tell the truth. To the authorities. Give names. Information about the criminals you were working for. Help dismantle their operation. And accept the consequences of your actions without trying to reduce your liability, without blaming others. And if I do that, if I cooperate completely, will there be a chance to rebuild something between us? Not now, but someday when I get out." "I don't know, Scott. Honestly, I don't know. The damage you did was immense, and I don't know if I can ever completely forgive it. But I can say this. If you cooperate, if you show real change, if you serve your sentence with dignity, maybe, just maybe, we can talk. As two people who share a history. I don't know if as father and son, but as people. That's more than I deserve. Much more. Because what you deserve is for me to turn my back on you and never look back. But I'm offering a possibility. Very small, very conditional, but a possibility. And Mom, if she were here, what would she say? The mention of Linda hit me like a punch. Your mother would be devastated, absolutely devastated, because she loved you more than anything in the world, and seeing what you became would break her heart. I know, and that's what hurts the most. I didn't just disappoint you. I disappointed her memory. Everything she expected of me. Then honor her memory by becoming someone better. It won't be easy, and it will take years, but it's the only way. I'm going to try, I promise. Promises mean nothing, Scott. Only actions. Remember that. I got up to leave. But before I walked out, Scott said something else. Dad, there's something you need to know. Audrey is pregnant. 2 months. And when the baby's born, I'll be here, in prison. And the child will grow up without a father, as punishment for what I did. My heart stopped. A grandchild, my grandchild, who was going to be born in the worst possible circumstances. Does Audrey know? Yes. That's why she's so desperate, so scared. Because she's pregnant and her husband is in prison, and she doesn't know how she's going to survive. And you're telling me this for what? To manipulate me? To make me feel pity and drop the charges? No, the charges can't be dropped. They're already the government's. But I'm telling you because that child is innocent, and he shouldn't suffer for my mistakes. And if you can, if you want, maybe you could make sure he's okay. Not for me. For the child. I'll think about it. But Scott, listen to me carefully. I will not bail Audrey out. I will not pay her expenses. I will not be the bank I always was. If I help that child, it will be on my terms, with limits, with conditions, and with supervision. I understand, and thank you for at least considering it. I left the detention center with mixed emotions, rage at the manipulation, pain over the betrayal, but also worry for an innocent child about to be born in the middle of this mess. Pamela walked beside me. Do you think he was honest? Or was it another manipulation? Probably both. Scott has always been good at mixing truth with manipulation. But the baby part, that's verifiable. And if it's true, then I have decisions to make. The next few months were chaos. Scott's trial was public, widely covered. Every detail of his betrayal was exposed for the world to see. I had to testify for 2 full days, recounting how I discovered the fraud, how I gathered evidence, and how my son had used my company to launder millions of dollars. It was humiliating, painful, but necessary. Scott was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Audrey received 8 years, but her sentence was suspended due to the pregnancy. She would serve home confinement until the baby was born, after which her sentence would be reevaluated. The people they were laundering money for were also arrested, a network of 5 individuals connected to a minor cartel, all facing decades in prison. The company survived, barely. We lost 30% of our clients, scared off by the scandal and the association with crime, but those who stayed were loyal. They understood that I had been a victim, not a perpetrator. I hired a new COO, an outsider with impeccable credentials and no family connections, and restructured everything. New processes, new controls, a new culture of absolute transparency. Ernie was promoted in recognition of his loyalty and for warning me when others wouldn't. And Emily became my right-hand woman, not in operations, but in reputation rebuilding, in public relations, in showing the world that Davis and Associates was more than the scandal. It was a legitimate firm with 30 years of good work. 6 months after the trial, Audrey gave birth to a boy. She named him Matthew, after her grandfather. She called me from the hospital. Jim, I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but the baby is here, and I thought you'd want to know. How is he? Healthy, beautiful. He has Scott's eyes. And you? Scared, alone, with no idea how I'm going to raise this child, but determined to do it right. to be a better mother than I was a wife. Audrey, about the baby, about Matthew, I want to meet him, but not until you are clear that any relationship I have with him is on my terms, not yours. I understand, and I accept. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. 2 months later, I visited Audrey and Matthew in the small apartment where she was living, very different from the luxurious house in Westwood they had lost. Matthew was asleep in a simple crib, wrapped in a blue blanket, small, innocent, unaware of the complicated world he was born into. "He's beautiful," I said. "He looks like his father, but I hope he has your heart, your ethics, your strength. That depends on how I raise him, on the values I teach him. I'm going to do it right, I promise. I won't make the same mistakes." "And Scott, have you visited him?" "Once, when Matthew was born, but it was hard, seeing the man I love behind bars, knowing he'll be there for years, and knowing that part of the blame is mine, for pressuring him, for wanting things I didn't need." "At least you recognize your part." "I'm in therapy, mandatory as part of my home confinement, but also necessary because I need to understand why I did what I did, why I chose easy money over integrity. And have you learned anything? That money doesn't buy happiness. I already knew that intellectually, but now I know it in my soul, because I had all the money in the world and I was miserable, scared, always looking over my shoulder, waiting to be caught. And now I have nothing, this small apartment, basic clothes, simple food. But I have peace because I'm not living a lie, and I have Matthew, who is the only thing that truly matters. We established an agreement. I would visit Matthew once a month, provide basic financial support, diapers, formula, necessities, but nothing extravagant. And when he was older, if Audrey proved to be a responsible mother, I would consider more. "But Audrey," I warned, "if you try to manipulate me again, if you use Matthew as a tool to get money, if you revert to your old habits, it's over. No second chances. Do you understand?" "Perfectly. And I won't do it because this child deserves better. He deserves a grandfather who loves him, and I won't ruin that." A year after the trial, the company was stable again. Not as big as before, but healthy, profitable, and completely clean. Emily had proven invaluable, with fresh ideas, energy, and a work ethic that reminded me of myself at her age. "Dad," she said to me one day, "I've been thinking about the company's future, and I think you should consider something." "What?" "Naming me CEO eventually. Not now, but in 2 or 3 years, when you've completely rebuilt and are ready to really retire." "Are you sure? It's a lot of work, a lot of pressure." "I know, but I'm ready and I've proven I can handle it. And unlike Scott, I don't have an ulterior motive. I won't steal from you. I won't betray you. I just want to continue your legacy, the right way. And Frank is on board, completely. In fact, it was his idea. He knows this is important to me, and he supports me totally." "Then let's do something. Over the next 2 years, you'll take on more responsibilities, step by step, proving competence in every area. And at the end, if all goes well, I'll name you CEO, and I'll retire as chairman of the board, with a voice but no daily operations. Thank you, Dad. I won't let you down." "I know, because you're different. You have your mother's heart and her integrity." Scott served his first year in prison. I had visited him 3 times. Short, awkward conversations, but without open hostility. "Have you been cooperating with the authorities?" I asked him on one visit. "Yes. I gave them everything. Names, operations, money routes, everything I knew. And thanks to my information, they arrested 5 more people, higher up the chain." "Good. That will reduce your sentence." "Maybe. But Dad, I didn't do it to reduce my sentence. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and because I finally understood that I can't run from the consequences. I can only face them. And how is it in here? Difficult, very difficult, but also clarifying. I can't pretend in here. I can't use money to solve problems. I can only be me and face who I really am. And who are you really? Someone who made huge mistakes, who hurt the people he loved most, but who is trying to be better, day by day, without guarantees that it will work, but trying. That's all you can do. Have you seen Matthew? Yes, once a month. He's growing well. Audrey is being a good mother, better than I expected. I'm glad, because that boy deserves better than me, better than us. And if you can give him stability, love, a grandfather who teaches him real values, then something good came out of all this mess. Something good can always come out of something bad, if you look for it, if you work for it. 2 years after the trial, I celebrated my 59th birthday with a small dinner at my house. Emily and Frank, Ernie and his wife, Pamela and Michael, who had become close friends in addition to lawyers, and Audrey with Matthew, who is now 2.5 years old. Matthew was running around the yard, laughing, chasing butterflies, completely oblivious to his family's complicated history. He's beautiful, Emily said, seeing new life, innocence, after so much pain. He is, I agreed, and he's a reminder that families can be broken, but they can also be rebuilt, differently, but rebuilt. Have you forgiven Scott? Not completely, maybe never completely, but I've accepted what happened, and I've decided to focus on the future, on protecting Matthew, on building something with him that I couldn't build with his father. Do you think Scott will change? Really? I don't know. He has 10 more years in prison, a lot of time to think, to grow, or to become bitter. It's up to him. But my life no longer revolves around him. It revolves around you, around Matthew, around the company, around the things I can control. That night, after everyone had left, I sat in my study, the same place where I had processed the betrayal 2 years earlier, where I had mourned the family I thought I had. But now, looking at photos from the dinner, seeing a smiling Emily, Matthew playing, Audrey finally at peace, I understood something fundamental. The family you have isn't always the family you need. And when that family betrays you, when it uses you, when it tries to destroy you, you have the right to rebuild, to choose who deserves to be in your life. Scott made decisions, bad decisions, that led him to prison. And while a part of me will always love him because he was my son, another part understands that love isn't enough without respect, without integrity, without reciprocity. And I chose my dignity, my freedom, my peace, over protecting someone who didn't protect me. If you're listening to this story, if it resonates with you in any way, I want you to understand something. Family fraud is real, it's common, and it's devastating. Children using parents' companies to launder money, children forging signatures, stealing, betraying, and expecting family love to shield them from consequences. But love cannot, and should not, protect crime, and parents have the right to defend themselves, to seek justice, to set boundaries, even when those boundaries mean jail time for their children. I went to surprise my son and discovered he was using me for money laundering, that he saw me as a senile old fool, and that he planned to destroy me if necessary. And while it hurt, while it nearly destroyed me emotionally, I fought back. I gathered evidence. I reported him, and I survived. And today, 2 years later, I have a clean company, a daughter who respects me, a grandson who is growing up in a better environment, and peace of mind I hadn't had in years. Was it worth reporting my own son? A difficult question, because I lost the relationship I thought we had. But I gained something more valuable: authenticity, security, and the certainty that I did the right thing. From the U.S., At 59 years old and with a life rebuilt from betrayal, I wish you courage, the courage to see the truth, the courage to document, the courage to act, and the courage to live with the consequences of doing the right thing, even when it's the hardest thing. My son called me a senile old fool. He used me, he tried to destroy me. But I was smarter, more prepared, and when the moment came, I didn't hesitate to defend myself. And while a part of my heart still aches for what I lost, another part celebrates what I gained. The freedom to live without fear, without being used, and surrounded by people who truly value me. That, at the end of the day, is all that really matters. Thank you for listening to my story. If it helped you in any way, if it gave you perspective or courage to face your own situation, share it. Because somewhere, someone else is being used by family, and they need to know that they are not alone, that they can defend themselves and that survival is possible. Blood is not enough to justify abuse. Love is not enough without respect. And the family you build is sometimes better than the family you were given. I learned that the hardest way possible, so you don't have to.